I find it incredible that there's nobody inside the Labour government with any kind of cojones or pride even to say, we can't carry on like this. You know, this is a sham government. It's a ridiculous situation. He's unpopular in his own party. He's unpopular in the country. He hasn't got anything going for him, and yet he's still sitting there, and he's not going anywhere unless somebody pushes him out, is he?
So there are some Labour MPs who do want to do something. It is just in a way that the barrier that they've got to reach is so high.
Yeah.
It is 80 of them coming out publicly and getting behind a single person. It is a difficult sort of, as I said, barrier to get to. However, there are so many now unhappy that you are seeing it with urgent questions on the House, statements on the House. Interestingly, how they found out that Mandelson was planning to flee the country, whether that's right or not. I know the person who was named, I think on the front page of the Telegraph, said it wasn't him.
Lord Forsyth,
Yeah, but it was somebody, and I'm saying that's how much they are just like, they're now leaking and breathing stuff to the paper. They didn't want him to slip the net, disappear. I know Mandelson saying, I wasn't going to do that. But when you've had a serial liar, the odds are you'd probably take what he says with a pinch of salt, even if
Stephen Barrett, the barrister, was on with us this morning, first thing, and he was saying, you know, the idea that Peter Mandelson's complaining that the police don't trust him is kind of hilarious, isn't it? You know, it's like, what do you mean you don't trust him? Because you can't trust a man like Mandelson because he's an out-and-out liar. But the thing that I find astonishing is that he has been, you know, sort of honeycombed through the Labour governments of the best part of the last 20-odd years. I mean, you know, I remember meeting Mandelson back in the sort of mid-90s, before, when he still had a moustache. He was writing a column for the Sunday People, and he was kind of in the midst of creating the new Labour project. He then got into government. He then got fired from government. One of the stories about him is that he started talking to Jeffrey Epstein in 2002, when he'd already been kicked out of the cabinet, but he was still in Downing Street because they just let him back in through the back door, you know. And he's been, I think, very instrumental in the whole Starmer project and the whole Starmer government. Clearly, he's basically been calling the shots, and he's done what he's wanted.
Well,
hasn't he?
I'm getting told there's more and more that's going to come out about Labour Together. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Where the finances were, obviously we know through the Electoral Commission it's over £700,000 that they didn't register for a very, very long time. They didn't want people to know that the money had fundamentally come from two very wealthy people. But I wonder if that could be going back to Mandelson as well, because, like you said, he was instrumental. It was the organisation that made sure Starmer was leader. So we don't know where this is all going, but it does seem to come back to Mandelson. Like, why did he ever get the job in the first place? Was that a payback in a way, this job of ambassador, because of what he'd done in the past for them? So he has, without doubt, got abilities, has Mandelson, but I'm afraid his downside and what he did, whether it was give information away, top secret information about the government, handing it over to Epstein. One of it was to tell him about a 500 billion euro bailout during the crash. He gave that to a financier who's going to do something with that, make a lot of money on the back of it. And so they know this. No, the man needs to be well away from
And Morgan
government.
McSweeney surely also needs to be kind of quizzed by the police, surely, because it was him and it was down to him that Labour Together was a thing, and also down to him that Mandelson was brought back in, because he was apparently the only person who told Keir Starmer, you must give this guy the job.
Yes, and it was during his tenure at the top that they didn't sort of register the money, because it was meant to be representing sort of grassroots, but it turns out it was fundamentally two very wealthy blokes who were funding it, which was not meant to be what it was about. It was meant to be grassroots, the voice of the people, getting everybody in, and obviously who it was elevating there. But funny enough, the other day, floor of the House, Jeremy Corbyn stood up, obviously, and he said, well, I want an investigation into what you were doing, basically to smear me, get rid of me when I was leader. And calling that Labour Together is a party within a party for the Labour Party.
Interesting, very interesting.
So I'd watch that one.
I think you're absolutely right. Now we're going to move on to what you did in the House the other day, because you had some very interesting things to say about animal rights and about the killing of those who use halal processes and kosher processes. But first, we've got a poll going out at the moment. Who would you rather have lunch with? Zach Polanski, Nigel Farage, Donald Trump, or Sydney Sweeney?
Well, I think I'm with Paul here. I think Sydney Sweeney would be good, but I think Trump, you've got to go have lunch with Trump, haven't you?
He's emerging as the winner.
Because obviously I see Farage, I see the other ones in the House.
I suspect Donald Trump would quite like to have lunch with you as well. I mean, you've got that look that he likes. I think so. Yeah.
So yes, I think you've got to have him. I mean, what's the guy up to? Where's he going to go next? Whatever. Be an intriguing lunch.
It would.
I bet it'd be a good lunch
Although
as well.
apparently he doesn't eat much. Apart
just
from
a burger or something,
burgers,
isn't it?
Right?
Burgers and Coke.
He's not interested in going to any sort of fancy restaurants. He just takes a McDonald's for drive-through.
But I think it'd be a top of the range sort of fillet steak burger. There wouldn't be any rubbish burger. I'll have it with him.
Absolutely right. Right, now let's have a look at Esther McVey in Parliament yesterday, talking about halal and kosher methods of killing animals.
A bill to introduce compulsory labelling of halal and kosher meat and products containing halal and kosher meat and for connected purposes. Mr. Speaker, this is a bill about animal welfare, transparency in meat production and consumer choice. It does not seek to ban halal or kosher meat, it seeks to ensure they are clearly labelled. It is important consumers have such information so they can make an informed choice about what they are buying. And currently, consumers do not have that information, and many are purchasing and consuming halal and kosher meat without their knowledge and without their agreement. The unique process of halal and kosher meat requires the animal to have its throat slit. In the case of halal meat, the animal is often stunned before it's killed, although it might not be, and for the shahita killing, for kosher meat, there is no pre-stunning. This lack of stunning causes the animal to experience severe pain. An individual concerned about animal welfare would want to know if an animal has been stunned prior to slaughter.
Esther McVey there in Parliament talking about something that people feel really strongly about, Esther, actually, halal slaughter and kosher slaughter. And it's important to mention them both in the same sentence, isn't it? Because they're both not dissimilar in terms of the method that they use. Why are you so worked up about it?
So it's about compulsory labelling, so you know what you are eating. Because in this country, the animal is meant to be stunned before it is slaughtered. That was always the rules. However, there was an exemption for sort of religious meat, as it were, kosher and halal meat. So this was not meant to be an exemption to the rule. So, and if you know how that's done, it is done by they slit the neck of the animal. And
without stunning them first?
Yes. Some halal will say, often it's stunned for halal, but it doesn't have to be, and kosher is not. And there is severe pain that is felt by the animal when it is not stunned. And the problem is, what should have been, as I said, an exemption, is now growing within the food chain. So you will see lots of supermarkets have it as a default product. You will see that if you go into takeaways, it is the default product. It's now in being served in the NHS, it's being served in schools, it's being served at university, and people saying, but I wouldn't have bought it if I had known. I don't want to buy that meat. So I'm calling for labelling, compulsory labelling. I've had some numpty, I can only call them numpty Labour MPs and peers saying, this already happens. No, it does not. Compulsory labelling does not. And I'll tell you who I'm working with, other people who are interested in animal welfare. We're meant to be a nation of animal lovers,
we are.
Right? And yet we're causing extreme pain in this instance. Selena Scott is a massive advocate of this, and I'm working with her as well. And it just is to understand what's going on. And I looked at the figures, of the billion, just over, animals processed in England and Wales, now 214 million is for halal meat.
Which is a much bigger number than it used to be, right?
It's like 4 times the population of sort of Muslims and Jews in this country. And we've now become an exporter of halal meat to the UEA. So there's something going wrong. And equally, you've got a 2-tier meat producing process now. So some slaughterhouses aren't stunning. And as you can imagine, that's cheaper because you're bypassing a whole process, which is stunning and looking after the animal. So it is cheaper meat that's coming into the food chain. But like I said, most people just want to know what's happening. And then at the same time, you've got a Labour government who put forward a 12,500 word document about their welfare strategy for animals, talking about, you can't boil live lobsters, and talking about the better care of fish.
Right.
But they're not talking about it for animals. And why not? Most people say they don't want to talk about it because they are frightened of the Muslim vote. They are frightened of losing this vote. And I say, no, you should be doing what is right. And people should be adhering to the laws of the land, not using an exemption to bypass it.
And like you say, it's all about information. It's all about, transparency, so that people know if they want to buy it, fine. But equally, I'd be interested to know what the sort of supply chain looks like from the farmers' side. Like, did the farmers know, for example, when they're selling their livestock to a slaughterhouse, do they know whether it's going to be killed humanely? Do they know whether it's going to be killed under, religious rules, or do they not care?
And interestingly, it's about 92% of people who have halal meat would like it labelled properly because they want to know it's been done properly. Other religions want to know it hasn't gone through another religious practice if it's theirs. And then the public, when the government did do a sort of a call out, as it were, for information, almost 99% of people said they wanted to know how the animal was slaughtered. So it is something that the nation cares about. But as I said, most people are now eating it unwittingly. It is coming through in a lot of areas as the sort of default form of food, which isn't the law.
No, there's a lot of this stuff happening. I mean, I noticed something, and funnily enough, Pooch and I were talking earlier about how we don't really order takeaway food as much as we used to, partly because it's become so ridiculously expensive. But there was a time when I used to order quite a lot of Chinese food, and I started to notice that some Chinese food suppliers now no longer serve up pork. And like, if you want to get some spare ribs or something, they're lamb spare ribs. They're not pork anymore because obviously, again, it's some kind of sop to religion, whether it be to the kosher side of it or to the Muslim side with halal. And so we're not given the choice. We are being told, well, you can't have pork. You can't have pork fried rice. We'll give you lamb fried rice. Well, I don't want lamb fried rice.
At the end of the day, like I said, it's about animal welfare. It's about transparency in the food sort of manufacturing sort of process, and it's also about consumer choice. And people are sort of angry and anxious about it, and they do think that this should be the law of the land. And I think it's this notion now that exemptions are becoming the rule. There is a vocal minority who are constantly getting their say, and MPs are weak and feeble. They are have overlooked things for a long period of time. They've wanted to be, whether it was politically correct or whether they just haven't wanted to challenge things. And I will put it down to a very weak political class.
Yeah, definitely.